It's time for us to rebuild another club, and this time we're heading over to France to rebuild Marseille. That's right, we're going to be trying to compete in Ligue 1 with the giants of European football that are PSG. We're going to be competing against their riches to try and become the winner of the French division and maybe even push for a second Champions League trophy for Olympique de Marseille. If you didn't already know, this is a side that won the Champions League back in the 90s. They have won the Ligue 1 title 9 times, most recently being in 2010. But of course, we've now got to deal with the dominance of PSG. It's been some disappointing years for Marseille. However, we have a huge fan base with nearly a 70,000 capacity stadium in the Orange Velodrome there, and we need to impress these fans and take this club from a team that's been competing around the European places to top of the French division table in the space of 5 years. I am using a transfer update database here, so players like Payet have left the club, and we have some of the incoming players at Marseille like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in our side. Before we do break the team down in full though and begin our 5-season rebuild, I really would appreciate it if you guys could just go and take a second to hit that like button for me. You have no idea how much it helps the videos when you click that button, and if you're in this percentage of people that are watching the rebuilds and haven't subscribed, then please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, we've had some huge growth on the channel recently, slowed down a bit in recent times, so if you're someone that's been watching but maybe hasn't been hitting them buttons, I'd massively appreciate it if you would do that, and comment down below who you'd like to see rebuilt next. Marseille came from a suggestion, and who knows, maybe the next rebuild will be the suggestion that you make. But let's break down the situation we're in here. So we have decent facilities, not the best junior coaching, not the best youth recruitment. We want to work on that a little bit across the course of this rebuild, and currently, if we look at the Ligue 1 table, we are predicted to finish third. Apparently nowhere near as good as Monaco, and PSG are 1-3 favourites to win the whole thing, so they are guaranteed winners pretty much, and it's going to be very hard to compete with them. Our staff situation is in a decent place, but financially there's not going to be too much that we can do this summer. We have £20 million in the overall balance, but only £2 million to spend, as Marseille have done a lot of their business already, and we will be left with the scraps here really to try and make anything happen in our first transfer window. There is a fair bit of debt as well at the club that we need to work off, and in terms of our star players, we have Valentin Rongier here as our best in central midfield. We also have Jonathan Klaus at right back. Guendouzi is here, former Arsenal player. Our squad is fairly old, and Guendouzi is one of the younger heads in that squad, but our main player in terms of young player that we can maybe build around is the striker Vitinha, the Portuguese under-21 international signed from Braga for £27 million by Marseille. He's got some decent attributes, and I'm hoping he can be a good striker for us. If we do sort by potential, outside of Vitinha, our other best young player is Luis Enrique here. He's on loan in the Brazilian division, so we won't get to use him just yet, but maybe when he comes back, he can be a big player for us. But if you have a look at the age of the squad, the majority of our players, and particularly the majority of our starting players here, maybe about this section onwards, are 26 and over. So I am going to try and lower the age of this squad a little bit. And if you look at the wages, Aubameyang's on mega money. Jordan Vertut here is on a lot of money as well. Amin Harit. These are players that maybe don't deserve these kind of contracts. Maybe they do. I don't know yet. But these are players that we're going to have to try and work off the books eventually. Some of the signings that Marseille have made this summer that we're having to use here, I don't necessarily agree with in terms of a long-term plan. So I'm going to take a look around the market and see if there's anything we can do with the couple million quid that we've got. Okay, so I've decided to settle on a 4-2-3-1 formation with a ball-winning midfielder and a central midfielder on the support duty, as well as a shadow striker with Malinovsky here looking like a great option, playing just behind Vitinha up front there. We've also got Ismaili Sarr from Watford on the wing, so we have got some talent here. However, with the £2 million we did have, and having a look at the squad depth that we had at the club, I didn't really see a place where we needed to immediately improve or spend the money, and particularly with £2 million, there's a good chance we were just going to waste it on someone that we didn't really need and not really good enough quality to improve the first 11. So I'm actually going to leave that money in the bank. We're not going to make any transfers in season 1, and we'll see how well this team does in our first season. I know you might think I should make some transfers, but there's a big chunk of this squad that have already been signed by Marseille this summer. There's not that much work for us to do right now. I said I didn't agree with any of the transfers that Marseille have made. However, they must have done a pretty good job, because not only have we won the French Cup for the first time in a long time for Marseille, beating PSG in extra time 1-0. We'll have a look at that game in a second. We also got to the Champions League final and we're runners-up, where we got battered by Arsenal. We knocked out Real Madrid on the way 3-2. 3-2, also knocking out Napoli on the way through. So, you know, credit to us there. The league, we are nowhere near PSG, who finished on 98 points. We had 77, which is nowhere near enough to win the league at this stage. We got a Champions League space for next year, but that is a very good first season. Considering we did nothing, I'm going to take zero credit for this. But clearly this side is already at a very good level. In the French divisions, realistically, outside of PSG, anyone could finish anywhere pretty much. We saw this season that teams like RC Lens did very well. At one point we had Rennes doing very well under Will Still as well. The French leagues can fluctuate a lot. It just tends to be PSG are at the top, and there's a few clubs that always float around the bottom. But from this like 12th place to even second or third, it can really vary in Ligue 1. So that's something we need to be aware of. But runners up in the Champions League is obviously amazing. Losing to Arsenal, not so much. But the French Cup, we won that too. It was a goal from Vitinha in the 92nd minute. He also scored in the Champions League final, but Havertz scored twice. Odegaard and Martinelli also scored to take the Champions League to Arsenal. But speaking of Vitinha, he was one of the stars of the season alongside Ismaila Sarr. He started 49 games and scored 45 goals, and in the league he scored 31 in 33. So clearly he is the man we need to build around. Just so you know, this is a very basic tactic that the game gave me, and I just switched some of the roles around. There's no additional instructions. I haven't even messed with the tactical instructions here. This is just a basic tactic, and we've done that well already. It might be a fluke, I don't know, but we've also had Ismaila Sarr, as mentioned, have a good season with 10 goals for him and 12 assists in the league. We've also had Malinovsky scoring 9. Aubameyang scored 21 goals in 50 starts. I think he spent a lot of the season in this inside forward channel here, cutting in and scoring goals, linking up with former Forest player Renan Lodi, and also Amin Harit got 11 goals for us from midfield. So it's been a good start. In terms of the transfer budget, we've been given 12 million, which I think is a bit harsh considering we do have 93 million pounds in the balance. The Marseille board clearly aren't backing us just yet, but with 12 million and a few players that we might be able to move on, we'll see what kind of transfers we can make to improve this team. I should note, we're never going to get to use Luis Enrique here because whatever loan deal he had must have had an option to buy, and it has been activated for 7 million. He looked like a good player as well. I don't really know what happened. He played for the Brazilian side, got loaned to us for 7 million, then we loaned him back and sold him. No idea what's going on there. I'm not going to question it. There's 7 million in the bank for us to spend. We've also moved on a midfielder that I didn't really feel like we needed anymore. His name was Azzedine Ounahi. He was a 23-year-old Moroccan who could play central midfield. He's joined us very recently from Angers. Didn't play too much last year, only started 3 games, so I've taken the money back. £6 million from Lille, he's out the door, and that's more money for our budget. Backup goalkeeper Ruben Blanco has also left. He's gone to Freiburg to be an important player for 2.3 mil. Again, more money that we can reinvest and take off of our wage budget. And with that money, we were able to pick up 3 players to help the team. I could have invested it all maybe in one quality player, but instead we've gone for a few squad depth options to help the team out long term. The first one is Hugo Sikwe here, who we've signed from Freiburg out in Germany and then loaned him back for the season. So he won't be with us for a little bit. I'll show you why in a second, but £4 million. That was the fee we paid for the young Belgian, potentially a future Belgium international. Likes to go forward but can defend well too. Good pace and acceleration. And just to show you, if we go to the wing back position, we already have Polarola and Jonathan Klaus here, so I didn't really see the point in Sikwe joining us straight away. But he will join us a little bit later down the line, likely when Jonathan Klaus's contract is up or we sell on Polarola, something like that. We've spent £7.5 million to bring Alex Collado to the club. The former Barcelona player joins us after a good season out in Saudi Arabia. £7.5 million. I think is good business for a player who's very versatile, can play alongside any of those free front positions and also central midfield. When you think the money we got for Ounahi and what we've paid for Collado, I feel like this is good business for us. He's not on huge wages either. Valued at about what we paid for him, which is good. He's got some flair, he's determined, good technically as well. He's a former La Masia graduate, so hopefully he is going to be a gem for us. 24 years of age, plenty of time to get better yet, and maybe Marseille is where he'll really kick on in his career. And our final signing was a French player, a centre-back to bring in, and that is Dan Axel Zagadou. The 24-year-old joins us from Stuttgart. He originally came through at PSG, went to Dortmund, spent some years there, and he ended up with Stuttgart where he got plenty of game time last year, recovering from injury problems that he did have. So we've now paid £7.5 million to bring him to the club. He's a squad option at centre-back, one of our best to be honest in that position, and over time we can start to integrate him and see whether he's really a first team starter or maybe just a rotation option at the back. But he's strong, he's big, good in the air, decent passing ability as well, and left-footed. We needed that balance in our team, and I think Zagadou is a good pickup for that. At 24 as well, well, plenty of years to get better, and he's not even in his prime yet. So just to introduce you guys to the team, this is what our best 11 looks like. It's Pau Lopez in goal. At right back, we've got Jonathan Klaus, one of our better players. We also have Chancel Mbemba, formerly of Porto, alongside Zagadou and Renan Lodi, who is actually a very good left-back option and only 25, so hopefully we can build around him. Guendouzi and Kondogbia in the midfield. We showed them earlier with Sarr, Harit, Vitinha and Malinovsky, making up the rest of our best 11 with players like Vertu, Iliman Ndiaye, who signed recently for them from Sheffield United as well as in our team, Cengiz Under, Baladi, Polarola, Jordan Amavi, plenty of good players in this team. How well we can do next season, I don't know. We're predicted to come third again PSG, odds-on favourites for the title under Luis Enrique, shouldn't be too hard for them. We're predicted to finish third, so if we can get a second place finish, I'll take that. Am I expecting a Champions League final again? Definitely not. We'll see how we get on, but a French Cup already under our belt definitely gives us something to build on, so let's see what we can do in Season 2. And again, it's not a bad season by any stretch, but it's just not quite where I want us to be yet, and I think that's expected, only 2 years in to our 5-year rebuild, but we didn't win the Trophée des Champions there. We also did not win the French Cup, got knocked out in the 11th round by Nice. We went out of the Champions League in the quarter-final this time to Manchester City. The round of 16, we did knock out Rangers on the way, so it was quite a favourable draw in that sense. And when it comes to the group stage, we actually topped a group featuring Leipzig, Ludogorets and Napoli, but not by a huge margin. Everyone was kind of on similar points, so I guess we rode our luck a little bit there, but quarterfinals is not bad for this Marseille team. The disappointment is the big gap in points that we got this year compared to last year. Nowhere near as good despite playing less matches in other competitions. Lost 9 games, nowhere near PSG at this point, barely even scraping a Champions League spot with Lens and Monaco only 1 point behind us both. If we dropped some other points throughout the season, we wouldn't have had a UCL spot, which is something we really need if we want to build forward with this team. But taking a look at our best performers, it's pretty much the same story as last time. Ismaili Sarr, Vitinha doing very well, as well as Malinovsky there, who did a very good job in the shadow striker position. Renan Lodi doing well, Zagadou, Pau Lopez. We've got a good core to this team. We just need to build on it a little bit. And in terms of finances, there's now £100 million in the balance yet again. Very consistent balance, yet we're not being given barely any of it to spend. 26 million, of course, is great money, but it's not exactly what we want here at Marseille when we've got 100 million in the bank. And we're trying to compete with PSG, who are only getting better as time goes on. They've obviously got the players they've signed in real life too, so they've got Xavi Simons, Manuel Ugarte's in there as well. They've even signed Victor Osimhen here, so it's only getting harder for us. It's going to take a lot of work to topple them, but we're going to try and do it. We need to make the right signings to do so. So with £26 million to spend, we're going into the season 3 transfer window, hoping to upgrade this squad to a team that can at least close in a little bit on that PSG side. I'm not expecting to topple them in one season, but if we can just get a little bit closer every year, maybe we can get there. Quickly running through some sales, we have let a lot of our squad depth players go. So Cengiz Under has gone to Everton for 2.7 mil. Conrad De La Fuente, a USA international who is in our under-20 side, he's moved to the MLS for 1.9 million. Jordan Amavi, a third choice left back for us at this point, has left to join Sheffield for only 160,000, mainly getting him off the wage books. Polarola has gone to Zenit. He was our second choice right back, but with Sikwe coming in, the guy that we loaned out to Freiburg last year, it was time to move him on, so he goes to Russia for 7 mil. Chancel Mbemba's contract was starting to get towards the end, so we decided to move him on. Ajax came in, he wanted to go, and the 29-year-old has moved to the Eredivisie for 7.25 million. And that did give us a fair chunk of money to spend, so it was time to reinvest and try and get this squad up to a better level. Now, currently we only had Pau Lopez in goal, so I wanted to sign a young goalkeeper to potentially compete with him and maybe even take his spot one day. And we've taken the gamble on Austrian international goalie Nicolas Heidel, who joins us from Rapid Vienna out in the Austrian divisions. After 2 okay seasons there, he comes in for 13 million, 23 years of age, nowhere near his prime yet, and plenty of years to get better. If all goes well, he could be a top-level Ligue 1 goalkeeper. It depends how well he develops, though. For now, he is the backup behind Pau Lopez, and maybe over time can start to take up some of his minutes. It's a big chunk of money, money, but I'm hoping the risk pays off. The biggest bargain signing we have made so far, though, is this man, Alan Rodriguez, who's natural centrally through that attacking midfield position and also on the right. He is a 4-star current ability player, supposedly, joining us from the Argentinian divisions. He comes in from Argentinos Juniors for 5.75 million, a bargain for a player who's now valued at close to 30. Great ability all around, works hard, nice technical ability, nice mental ability, and he's got the physicals too. A very versatile option who definitely takes this side up a level. With Chancellor Mbemba going, we needed a new centre-back to come in, so we have decided to go for the Swiss 22-year-old Leonidas Sturgiu, who joins us from St. Gallen for only 8.75 million. Now valued at 50, I think that's safe to say we have made some great business here. We were competing against some of the biggest sides in the world to sign him. We obviously offered him a bit more game time, being a star player here at Marseille, which he will be as our best centre-back, as you can see in the corner there. So hopefully we can build around him at the back. Good passing ability, will be a nice partner to Dan Axel Zagadou. Good physically, he's only 5'11" though, so that might be a little bit of a problem, but already an international player, valued at so much, you've got to think this was a good transfer. And finally, we've improved in that inside forward channel on the left-hand side with Moussa Barrow joining us from Bologna out in Italy after 2 great seasons for them in Serie A. He's proved he can score a few goals. Hopefully he can score a lot here, can play up front as well if needed. 36 appearances for his national team, 10 goals, and valued at 30 million. To pay 12 million for him, again, seems like very good business in my eyes. And our best 11 is now starting to have a little bit of our own spin on it, with Heidel apparently coming in as our best option in goal. We've got Zagadou and Sturgiu, 2 players that we've signed in the team there. Barrow comes in, as well as Alan Rodriguez. Interesting that Ismaili Sarr gets pushed out of his first 11. I would have imagined it more looking something like this, with Guendouzi in that position, maybe Alan Rodriguez in the midfield, and then Ismaili Sarr here. Obviously the season's very long, players are going to move around, but this is roughly what our best 11 is looking like currently. A lot of talent around the pitch, and hopefully this team can start to compete with PSG. Obviously it's a big long shot, but our odds are about the same as what they were before. Monaco's still above us, so apparently we're not making any improvements whatsoever. But I've just got to cross my fingers that eventually we can get to the point where we are competing with them, because after this, there's only 2 seasons left, and if we're not doing great yet, we might not do anything in the course of this whole rebuild. I've been trying to upgrade the facilities, but the board just aren't having it. They're a really tricky board to work with. But our team is ready, so it's time to see how we can get on in Season 3. And you know what? It is definitely an improvement. We are nowhere near 2nd and 3rd this time round, but we are still a long way off PSG, who only lost 1 match all season, and I'm starting to worry this might be an impossible task. But as far as we're concerned as Marseille, it's our biggest points total yet on 81 points. 5 losses all season, 2 of which are to PSG. If we can start winning those matches, we might actually have some kind of chance of closing the gap on them. But for now, it's not to be. A 2nd place finish though, as underwhelming as this might be so far in terms of trophy wins, we're certainly improving. We're lowering the age of the squad, and we're also bringing in a lot of value players into the team, players that we buy for cheap and then are worth more, which obviously increases the assets that we have at the club to help us long term in reaching our goals. And Champions League, let's see how far we got. We're not in the final, we weren't in the semi-final, we weren't in the quarter-final. Did we even get in a round of 16? We didn't. We got knocked out in the knockoff playoff rounds? We did. Okay, so we lost to Milan 3-1 on aggregate in the playoff round to get into the knockout stages. So not the best from us there. Mustn't have been a great campaign, and we got knocked out of the French Cup semi-final by Chamois Niortais FC. How have we got knocked out by them? I don't know, but we have been. And it was Saint Etienne in the final, which arguably would have been a team we could beat, considering look how far down they are. They got relegated this year, and they're in the Europa League still, so whatever's happening to them, I don't know. Dion with arguably one of the worst seasons you'll ever see as well, by the way, on 5 points there. Maybe we need to rebuild them next, but yeah, 2nd place finish, Champions League disappointing, French Cup, semi-final was great, of course, but we could have won that whole thing if we just happened to beat, a team in the French national division. Tell me that's at least the 2nd division of France. I don't even know. No, this is going to be 3rd division, isn't it? That's really disappointing from us if so. If anyone can confirm that, do let me know, but I think that is actually the 3rd division we've lost to there. In penalties of all things as well, very disappointing, but yes, a decent season from us on a league front, but in the Cup and the Champions League, maybe not so much, whereas other seasons might have been the other way round. But financially, we're still looking strong with £111 million in the balance, no debts and loans now, but the board are still only giving us £29 million to spend. I have no idea what I've done wrong. It's not even a crazy wage budget either, only about £100,000 to use. The dev centre, there's a few players we can maybe start to look at now in terms of promoting them into the first team. And it was a similar story as usual, Vitinha being the most amazing player we've got with 39 goals in 33 league games, making it his best season so far. I imagine he must be one of the top strikers in the world now, and he does have interest from Dortmund and Bayern, so it might be a tricky job hanging on to him. But some great players performing very well for us. Musa Barrow with a brilliant first year, the same for Alan Rodriguez. We just need to step it up a level, bring in some more quality, and hopefully this time it will make the difference. But I mean, we're going into our 4th season, still about 15 points off of PSG. This is not going to be easy. Just to let you know as well, we simulate these seasons with the assistant manager in control. If we were being more hands-on, we could definitely get closer to PSG in this 3-year period so far. You'd adjust your tactics, you'd figure out which players are good or bad. We don't really have the luxury of doing that when we simulate a season, so just bear that in mind. Maybe you guys could do a better job than me, almost certainly if you're managing hands-on, but this is where we're at right now, and we have made some signings in Season 4 to really help the team out. If you do enjoy the video up to this point, please go ahead and hit that like button. Just takes a few seconds, it's free to do, and it really does help the channel. But let's show you the players that we sold first. Jeffrey Kondogbia has left the team at 32 years of age. I felt it was a good time to try and get some money from him when he had some interest. Despite being a very good player for us, he has gone to the United Arab Emirates for $9.5 million. I'll take that for a 32-year-old. Amin Harit has gone to the Premier League to play for Fulham for $8.75 million. He's been very good for us across the course of the 3 years here, but we needed some money to reinvest. I'd identified some players I wanted, and Harit didn't really fit into the systems we played as much anymore, so the Moroccan is out the door. Gaël Lafont, a player that I didn't even know we had, was in our academy. It was time to promote him into the first team, but Arsenal came along. He wanted to leave. He'd been on loan at Clermont last season and did pretty well in the French First Division. However, once Arsenal came sniffing, he didn't want to stay. It's a £6.5 million fee that could rise to $8 million. Apparently he's valued at $30 million now, and he's on a very good contract. But I mean, our coaches didn't rate him too highly, so maybe he didn't have the most potential ever. I don't know. He could definitely have been a good option, cutting him from the right. But whatever, we've got $6 million. We'll try and reinvest that into someone better. And also, Alex Collado has left us. An experiment that never really worked out for us. I guess I've got this transfer wrong. I'll hold my hands up. We paid $7.5 million. He did play a fair bit, just never played great. And then second season, didn't play much at all, so we've decided to let him go. About half the fee that we paid for him initially, $3.5 million. He's only a squad player at Lille, so he was never really going to make it here for us, so he's out the door as well. And just to note, Jonathan Klaus has also left on a free deal at the end of his contract. And it's our busiest summer yet, with 5 or 6 transfers this time round. The first one being a free signing, Adam Asnu, a backup left back for us, coming in from Bayern, formerly of Barcelona. A lot of big caliber clubs there that he's paid for, but he does look like a good left back option, potentially to back up Renan Lodi in that left back spot. Good physically, good technically and mentally as well. Someone with a bright future, I'm sure, and to get him for free, I'm very happy with. And speaking of free transfers, we needed a backup striker for Vitinha to try and take the pressure off of him a little bit, and also potentially a new inside forward, and we have gone for the USA international, 7 international appearances and 6 goals, so a good record, and it is Folarin Balogun of Arsenal, who in real life is being linked with moves to Inter Milan and, Monaco for like 50 million. Here, he's a free agent that Arsenal have let go after a few seasons. Good ability, never going to be world class, but at the age of 24, he is a very nice option to have in the squad. Kevin Alvarez is our Jonathan Klaus replacement, 26-year-old Mexican coming in from Club America. He's also played for Pachuca out in the Mexican divisions as well. Had 3 very good seasons since we've started this rebuild, and $7.5 million for me looks like great business for a right back of this kind of level. He's playing in his prime already, a Mexican international, £20 million valuation. I think that's a nice transfer to bring in. The Swiss international Fabian Rieder, 23 years of age, has also joined us from Young Boys for $7.5 million. After 3 great seasons for them, comes in as a midfield squad option. Never really going to push for much more than that, I don't think. Sometimes he can be really good, but it doesn't look like he has the potential in this save at least to get to that level. But still, a very nice addition for a pretty small fee. It's a similar case for Santiago Jesse, who is our Kondogbia replacement, valued at 30 mil. We paid only 7.5 million from this player from Huracan out in the Argentinian divisions, where he's played 4 seasons at the highest of levels as a ball-winning midfielder. He's an unreal talent when it comes to that. Outside of that, He's not offering too much, but he is a hard-working, tackling player who can pass the ball well and has got a lot of stamina and strength and good physical ability. I think he will end up being an Argentinian regular in the national team if we develop him right, but he comes in as our Kondogbia replacement at only the age of 23, cheaper than what we actually sold Kondogbia for, and not on as high wages either. And we've added another centre-back this time, so we've got Sturgeon already, Zagadou, and now our other option competing at the highest level for that starting spot is Strahinja Pavlovic, the Serbian 24-year-old centre-back who joins us from RB Salzburg after 3 good seasons for them. Doesn't play much football out there. I don't really know what goes on in the Austrian divisions, but it seems no one really plays many matches. But when he does play, he plays very well. And 23.5 million, as much as it might seem expensive, I think we've got a Champions League quality centre-back. He's named as an elite centre-back already. By the end of his career, he'll have over 100 caps from Serbia, I'm sure of it. Jumping reach, strength, heading ability, marking. Another left footer, so him and Zagadou are going to be the left-footed centre-backs, while Sturgeon and also where is he, Leandro Ballardi will be our right-footers on that right-hand side of the back two. And I think he's a very good prospect to bring into the club, and I think we've spent very well this summer. And here is our best 11 now, with Heidel in goal. It's also Alvarez, Sturgeon, Pavlovic and Lodi at the back. We've got Rongier and Guendouzi in midfield, with Rodriguez, Barrow, Malinovsky and Vitinha making up the rest of the team. You will see we've played some matches already and our average match ratings have reset. We're also in July. That's because we actually played in the Club World Cup Championship, where we actually were very good, getting all the way to the final, knocking out Man City, knocking out Chelsea. But again, it's Arsenal that we lose to, the team that knocked us out of a Champions League final in our first season. Similar goal scorers to before as well, so that was unfortunate. We nearly had a Club World Cup Championship, but it wasn't to be, and we've had some good friendlies though so far to really kick us on for next year. We've also been improving the training facilities, the youth facilities, and some of the coaching and recruitment side of things. The finances are still in a very good position with £143 million in the bank now. And for the first time, we're better than 15-1 odds to win the league. We're actually sitting at 10-1 odds this time, and we have 2 players in the best 11 of the division. Pavlovic comes in and Rodriguez as well in the midfield. It's just a shame the rest of it is all PSG's mega side, including now Moises Caicedo. Why not add a world-class midfielder to their ranks as well? They're only getting better, PSG. As much as we're trying to compete with them, they are just going to get better and better. Their odds have shortened a little bit on winning the league, so maybe we are closing that gap. But we'll see whether that really is the case in our penultimate season, Season 4. Let's see how we do, then we've got one more year after that. And I really don't know how to feel about this one, because we finished 3rd, and there is an extra Champions League space now in the French divisions, which is good. And 3rd is obviously way worse than we finished before. 2nd place pretty much every time. However, with that being said, we are closer to PSG than we've ever been. Is it because we've been good? No, it's more that PSG have just been a lot worse this year. I don't know what they've done. Maybe the transfers aren't quite working for them. I don't know. But we were only 9 points away from them. It's just a shame Monaco were 2 points away. So obviously we need to compete with them as well now. But it's not been the worst season. It's just not the best. You'd forgive it if we did well in the Cup, which we didn't. We got knocked out by Stade Rennais. And then maybe the Champions League, a knockout run. No, we got knocked out in the league phase of all things. Not even making it past there. Very close to going through to the knockout playoff rounds, but the goal difference made the difference. Wolfsburg pipped us to that Champions League spot, and that was very unfortunate. And when you think we've done this whole rebuild, we've got 1 season left, and the only time we won anything was when I made no transfers in the first season, and we got to a Champions League final then. You do have to question my ability here a little bit. I don't think it's going as well as I might want to. I feel like the transfers have all made sense. I feel like we've brought in good players. We've lowered the age of the squad. We've got a lot of talent now that are valued at a lot of money. Musa Barrow, Guendouzi, Vitinha, Pavlovic, Sturgeon, all 30, 40 million pound players. We didn't have that before, but you know, is everything going great? I wouldn't really say so. I'd like to have won something. Training facilities are maxed out. The other facilities are coming along a little bit. We just need to do something else in this final season. Maybe add some quality somewhere. Maybe I need to really focus in and identify where things are going wrong. Is that Ismaili Sarr? Ismaili Sarr is a legend of Marseille now, apparently, having been here for 4 years. And I don't think he's really been amazing, but he's already apparently up there with some of the best players in their whole history. And that's very interesting in itself. But yes, 1 season to go. Need to do something special. Need to bring in the right transfers. Let's see what we can do. And maybe in our final season, we can fluke some kind of trophy win, even if it's just a French Cup again. I feel like we need to win something else. Okay, we've brought in 3 players this summer, gone for quality over quantity, and I feel like we've brought in some players that could really elevate us to the next level. We got given a big budget this time of 50 million, the first time the board have actually backed us a little bit. Maybe they saw how bad last season was, getting knocked out of the league phase, and realised, you know what? Maybe we should give them a bit of this £100 million balance that we've got. Finally, they gave us some of it, and we were able to bring in Gabri Veiga as our first player. He's being linked to some huge clubs in real life currently, but in this FM world, he's still playing for Celta Vigo, doing very well last season in particular, and we've brought him in for 18.25 million, a release clause fee, to be our shadow striker option, also central midfield option for us. Comes in as an important player, one of our best ability players as well. Very happy to have him on board. I feel like he could be a top draw player for us, take us to another level. But I did think that about Alex Collado as well, and that one didn't turn out well. But the young Spaniard, I think, has got a lot of promise and hopefully can be a top draw player in that midfield. Wasn't necessarily convinced with Nicolas Heidel in goal so far. He was looking good, mind you. I'm not saying he's awful, but with Pau Lopez leaving this summer on a free, did I want to leave everything to Heidel? I wasn't too sure. The guy's never really played too many games for us. He's looking like a good option as a backup, and actually, as far as goalkeepers go, he was good. But we decided to add to our ranks by bringing in Lucas Chevalier, a French goalkeeper, someone to compete with him. You could argue Heidel might be better in some aspects. In terms of distribution, I think Heidel is better, but Chevalier here comes in with a lot more experience than Heidel's had in the French division. 4 seasons playing for Lille as a regular starter. We've paid 6.25 million, absolutely nothing to bring him in, and he's valued at about 20. I think that's good business. 2 good goalkeepers now to compete with each other. Both of them very talented options too. So I feel like with Pau Lopez going, this was a good signing to bring in. And whilst normally in rebuilds I tend to find real players and buy them, we've had a new gen player here that I could not pass up on, and his name is Eduardus Barbier, valued at £100 million. Remember that. 18-year-old Belgian international, 3 appearances already for Belgium at only the age of 18, coming in from Genk with amazing ability all around, great passing ability, and we've actually changed our whole tactic for him. He's valued at 100 million. We signed him for only 24.5. After 3 first-team seasons already for Genk, he would have been playing at 16, 15 years of age, and that's why he's developed so well. We've now adjusted our tactic a little bit to have a deep-line playmaker alongside a Mezzala in the midfield, and also an inverted winger on the right now, instead of a straight-up winger. And if we have a look at our best 11, the team's really starting to come together with Chevalier in goal, Kevin Alvarez, Sturgeon, Pavlovic and Lodi at the back. That's a very strong defensive line, I think, and none of them are really amazingly old or anything like that yet, which is good. Barbier and Guendouzi as our midfield, Barbier being someone we can hopefully build around for years to come. Obviously, this is our last season, but maybe this is the kind of thing we needed to really take our Marseille team to another level. It's still Malinovsky in the team, Rodriguez, Vitinha and Barrow. If we look at Malinovsky, by the way, 33 years of age, Ukrainian now. Look how good he's been for us since the start, consistently scoring in that shadow striker role. He's got Gabri Veiga now to compete with him in that area. And we've got some great players on the bench too, a lot of young options, and we're in a much better place as a team now. Saying that, our odds on the title have actually got worse over time. Is that because we've got worse? No, I just think PSG have got better and better. They've got such a good team. Almada is one of the only non-PSG players that makes it into the best 11 in the division. But we are right up there now. Gabri Veiga, by the way, is apparently our best player by far. But this is the most confident I've felt about our team. Adjusting the tactic as well, I'm hoping will give us a little bit of an edge and maybe change things up a little bit. How well it will go, I'm not sure, but our team is ready for our final season here, season 5. Let's see what they can do. Let's aim for that French Cup, maybe a Champions League run, and see just how close we can push PSG in the league. And I've just had to sit here for a couple of minutes staring at this because I cannot believe that we've actually fluked a title against PSG. And you might think, oh, Jake, you must have done something here to make us win. I'm going to explain in a second, but trust me, it's nothing we've done that's got us this title. Let's first start by saying we also won the French Cup as well, finally getting another trophy in the cabinet. We beat Lorient in the final. Semi-final, we had Montpellier. It was quite an easy run to the trophy eventually, so we'll certainly take that. A French Cup under our belts. Champions League, knockout playoff rounds, we got knocked out. That was by Napoli, so not the best there. Obviously, that's probably given us a lot more freedom in the league in terms of not having the Champions League games to play. I imagine PSG didn't have that liberty, but we have won the title. And the reason that I say, we haven't really done anything is because it's probably one of our worst seasons in terms of points total. I can't remember exactly, but we certainly had way more points than that in the past. The difference is this year, PSG have just crumbled a little bit. 6 draws, 4 losses. We had 7 draws and 3 losses, which is pretty standard for us. But for PSG to lose 4 times, including Clermont, Lyon, Bordeaux, drawing 6 games again, Clermont getting some points off of them, Nice, Lens. Not a great season for PSG. 78 points for them. It meant somehow 79 points was enough for us to win the trophy, which you never would expect against a team like PSG. But we've done it. They've still got Luis Enrique as manager. Nothing changed there. They've still got Kylian Mbappe. Their best 11 is looking as good as it ever did. I just don't know what happened to them this year. It's like they just decided they were just not going to compete. Maybe they went all the way in the Champions League and that made a difference. Let's have a look. Where did they get knocked out? Not the final. They got knocked out in the semi, so I guess they did go quite the distance in the Champions League, but they didn't end up winning it. Arsenal, by the way, beating Man City 9-4 in a Champions League tie, just to lose the final against Barcelona 1-0. Typical Arsenal fashion. But yeah, we've won the league. No idea how. I don't think we deserved it. I think it's probably one of my biggest flops in terms of a rebuild. But we toppled PSG in 5 years. Whether it was down to our doing or PSG just getting worse, let us just pretend we did something good here. I say pretend, we did have some really good performances. Vitinha, again, 49 goals in 42 appearances. Barrow doing well. Malinovsky, Sarr, all of them still chipping in. Guendouzi, Heze. Where's our new guy that came in? Was he any good? I mean, he was okay in that deep line playmaker role. He wasn't amazing, but he's developing for sure. Still valued at £100 million, so clearly we're doing something right, and he's got another appearance for Belgium, but yeah, this team has somehow won the league. I'm going to see, by the way, if Ismaili Sarr is now a legend at the club, still a legend at the club, and he's getting closer to being one of the biggest legends in the whole history of Marseille. If we did another few years here, be above Papin and also Bolly. But yes, we've won the league with Marseille. Did we win the Champions League? Were we ever close? Technically, yes, in the first season, but realistically, we were never a Champions League competing side. I wish we'd been given more money. We then could have been. If you look at the finances, we've got £180 million in the budget. And if we did do another season, we'd have 90 mil to spend. Maybe I'll continue this one day because I really want to take them to another level. Let me know if you want to see that in the comments. Yeah, I just wish we'd been given that money earlier. I really could have made the difference there, I think, with a little bit extra cash because we did not have any sellable assets whatsoever. But that's been the rebuild. If you have enjoyed it, smash the like button for us. Comment down below who you'd like to see next, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.